Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smart Trucking Live. Glad you could join us today. Kelly Patterson is here. Hey, Kelly. John O'Piper is here. Roger Penske is here. How many more days of winter are there if Nick can see his shadow? A good question. A good question. We'll stick him outside and check we can see if his shadow's showing or not later on after the stream. But good question, Roger. Paul Hudson's here. Greetings from the cold and snowy northern Illinois. And they're calling for a storm through there, Paul. I was just watching the weather reports. Fred Besmer is here. Good day, Smart Trucking from St. Louis, Missouri, homeward bound. One more time, Fred. Go in the right direction. Do you do like around a week? So you're always roughly in the same spot at the same time? You seem to have a pretty consistent schedule, which is a good deal. Kelly Patterson. I've done my pre-employment drug screen today. And we'll go back to the greetings. Jane Crosby's here. Joel Cox is here. Cassius Puckett's here. Cubano 960 is here. Vols Fan 4 Life, a.k.a. Knoxville Pedophiles. Now there is a title. Anyway, he's here. Glad you could join us, sir. Alan Johnson's here. Sam Morton's here. Lots of stuff, lots of people. Muppet is here. Hey, Muppet. How are you doing, man? Jeff W. is here. Dan is here. SoCal. Is SoCal here? There he is. SoCal's here. Froglid's here. Maxwell's here. Stephen Cusack is here from Utah. Glad you could all join us today. Jake Cobb. Shannon's here. Hey, man. How are things in Wyoming today? Wondering about you all the time there. You're in one of my favorite states, as you know, so always wondering how you're doing. Lisa Marie Coleman, hello from West Sacramento, California. Boy, that was back in the day. That was one of the best truck stops, was the 76 in Sacramento back in the day. We'd land there quite a bit. Aaron's here. Throne Shop, Colorado's here. Patrick Aubrey is here. Stephen Pritchard, I'll be all right, is here. And there's Captain Nice Guy. Glad to see you've joined us today, sir. So, I was thinking there the other day, we were talking in the live stream last week briefly about cab overs. This week, didn't I see just the most beautiful Kenworth K100 rolling northbound up the road, pulling a load, double bunk, flat top, blue, about a 1981 probably, just like the top of the line truck for its day back in that day. And gorgeous shape, really, really good to see it out there working. So brought back good memories. The weather here today is kind of warm, slushy, and snowy. It's hovering right around freezing, which is kind of unusual weather for us up here today. So it's kind of a warm, balmy day. Nice for a change. I'm sure we'll get socked with the storm that's coming out of the States, the one I was just talking about that's coming up through Illinois and the valley there, the Ohio Valley. So anyway, what's going on today? What are some of the comments here? Today we're doing a Q&A. So that's what we're up to. Hello from Alberta, Canada, Sam Morton. Houston, Texas, Joel Cox. Greencastle, PA off I-81, Daniel Meredith. I know where that is. Grilled Mortal is here. Glad to see you, man. Glad to see you. So, jump in with your questions anytime. We'll do our best that we can to field them and get you some decent answers, but just a lovely day in the neighborhood. Yeah, Roger Penske says happy Groundhog Day. You as well. We'd forgotten this was Groundhog Day until you brought that up. So, SoCal, the 49er. That was what the truck stop, the 76, was called. up in Sacramento. That's right. I was struggling to pull that out of my old memory, but that's what it was called. Thank you, SoCal. That was a great old truck stop, too. I don't even know if it's still there or not. Probably not. Probably the real estate's so damn valuable there now. They've got something else.
At the top there, Kelly Patterson.
Kelly Patterson. Taco Bell explosions. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not even going to get into that.
There's another one I just pinned.
What's your opinion about the Cuban president, Diaz-Canel? I don't know anything about him, to tell you the truth. Paul Hudson enjoyed the video on the young driver issue. Thank you. Spot on, he says. It's tough because I drove when I was that age, and I had no trouble at all. I made out just fine. But when you look at the statistics, the accident statistics for that group, it's a pretty scary number, and you'd wonder why they'd even entertain that. But it shows you how much the FMCSA is in the pocket of the ATA, because this is all about the driver shortage and nothing else. And it's not about safety, and that's what the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is supposed to be all about. But, politics. So Paul Hudson, thank you for commenting on that video.
Okay, so first order of business.
Appreciate it. First order of business today, before we get into the stream, before we get into the Q&A, I have an announcement that I need to make. It's something I'm not particularly happy with, but I need to say it anyway. I'm sure most of you here today are looking to hear from us about the situation unfolding up here in Canada related to the trucking industry. At Smart Trucking, we have made the difficult decision to withhold comment on this event, and this is due to the heavy scrutiny and regulations imposed on us by the various platforms as well as by the Government of Canada. Because we are a Canadian-based platform, we do not have the same freedom of speech at this time as do other countries around the world. But those of you who know me know where I stand on this for sure. So with this in mind, please don't post questions on the chat about that topic, because we just can't talk about it.
And say what else I told you to say. It's on your notes.
But you know I'd love to comment on it.
No, the fact that this could change over the
Oh,
next few weeks.
and of course the situation is fluid. It could change over the next few weeks, and we may report on it. So we'll keep you posted on that. But as of right now, we're stymied.
Oh, what? Oh. I don't know. I gotta think. Give me a chance to think. Rock and roll there, Sonny.
Yep. Where am I here? I've kind of lost track. Yeah, SoCal. Yeah. Yes, SoCal, it is too bad. I have a hard time shutting up about it, but it is a conflict of interest, but there are plenty, as Doug points out, there's plenty of other things to talk about, and you were right, sir. So, but it is quite the deal.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. How do we do that? Read it, but don't comment on it. Just say if he wants to pick another question. So let Nick do the dono.
The Cuban president said on live TV that lemonade is the base of everything. Cubano 960, I think you got a crazy down there by the sounds of it. I've kind of lost track of what's going down there ever since Castro passed away and his brother took over for a while. But after that, I've kind of lost track of how things are down there. 903, nothing. Get the truck with a big 855 cam Cummins. inline 6-cylinder motor. Those are a good motor. They last forever. They're cheap to rebuild. I've had more than a few of them. They were good engines. I ended up liking the Cat better in the long run. The Lettuce King talked me into switching after I had some warranty trouble with Cummins back in my in my 84 and my 93. Both of those trucks had Cummins. Had warranty issues with both of them from the factory, so that was what made me switch.
What do you think about the case of allowing 18-year-olds to go out of state? Zach Brown?
Zach Brown, what do you think about the case of allowing 18-year-olds to go out of state? Zach, I just did a video on this last week, but it's tough for me to say because I drove at that age myself. But I have to say that I'm against it just because I believe the legislation that's allowing that is for all the wrong reasons. It's not to help out the young people get a license. It's not to do with anything other than trying to satisfy this fake driver shortage that the ATA companies have. They're just looking for more cheap labor, and that's the problem I have with it. And in the meantime, you know, they're increasing the rate of accidents on our highways by doing this. And I object to the fact that they use the interstates as the training ground for new drivers. Even if they kept them on the back roads and stuff like that, like where the rest of us all learn to drive. But you know, they'll be on the interstates, they'll be pulling loads, they'll be working just like real truck drivers all the time in their training. I have problems with all of that stuff. Backing up at truck stops and other trucks and stuff. You know, I have a lot of problems with it. But it's all for the driver shortage. Got to help the guys at Swift.
Yeah.
What gear should you be in going downhill while loaded? Well, that's a tough question. It depends on the weight of the trailer, depends on the grade of the hill, how long it is. I like to, you know, if you're under some serious weight going down a serious grade, I like to find a gear where the Jake can hold the truck back without having to touch the brakes hardly ever. And that's where I'm comfortable. I always let the Jake walk the truck down, maybe occasionally fan the brakes to bring my RPMs back down a little if they climb too high. But I like to let the Jake walk the truck down. Like I'm thinking here, what's a good hill that everybody would know? If I was westbound on I-80 coming down Parley's, I'm trying to recall now, but I believe I would come down the top part of Parley's in third or fourth gear, just letting the Jake hold the truck back. Then the hill kind of flattens out near the bottom half, and then I would pick up a gear as it went around that curve, maybe get up into fifth for the bottom half. But I like the Jake to do the work. I don't like the brakes to do the work. Doug Ackerman. Oh, sorry.
Falls fan for life coming in with the $5. Sorry, we had to do a little bit of discussing behind the scenes here about the nature of the question. If you want to post another one, we'd be more than happy to read it, but we just want to steer well clear of the topic for today, just as prior stated by Dave for a number of reasons. So thank you for the donation. If you have another comment, feel free to throw it in the chat for us and we'll read it off for you.
Yes, thank you for the donation. Doug Ackerman, what tires have held up well for you over the years? Honestly, Doug, I have had really good luck with Michelin's, Bridgestones, and BF Goodrich. And I believe BF Goodrich is owned by Michelin, actually. But I've had really good luck with all three of those. I found Michelin's up here in Canada got like ridiculous expensive, and that was when I switched to Bridgestone. But I still had really good luck with them, and BF Goodrich as well. I've had really good luck with all three of those makes of tires. Teddy Freeman, where in the hell do those kids supposed to get their experience? I would think you were new at one time. Yes, I was new at one time, and I didn't get my experience running freight across I-40. I got my experience on the back roads, as I mentioned, on the secondary highways, not under any pressure to pull a load or anything like that. I had an old hand with me, and I think that's where you get the experience. I don't think that you should take an 18-year-old, cut them loose with a team load for Swift or Werner and say, good luck, because that's how it's going to go. These big carriers will abuse that training program and use these kids like part of a running team. And that's what I have the problem with. I don't have any problem with young kids going out on the back roads and pulling bull racks and stuff like that, getting their experience that way. I do have a problem with them running team on the interstates under a schedule.
Lisa Marie Coleman coming in with the $5 as well. Thank you very much for that. I know you like GP Transco. Do you think they are a good carrier for brand new drivers right out of driving school? And if I remember correctly, I believe you needed years driving experience.
1 or 2 years.
1 or 2 years, but I'll let the professional answer that.
Yeah, Lisa Marie, they're a great carrier. To the best of my knowledge, you need at least a year's experience to work there. But, you know, everybody wants to talk about how do they get that year's experience. And it's a lot easier than what people let on, because you can just go to any place and it'll count as seat time for most insurance companies. You can drive a delivery truck around the city. You can do anything like that where you're actually getting paid to drive. Hell, you could probably drive Uber Eats and it would count as seat time. So I would just do whatever it takes to get that first year in. Drive for the local delivery company or the local lumber yard with small trucks or something like that. And then after you've got a year's seat time, verifiable seat time, driving a commercial vehicle, you're good to go. Uh-oh, here's SoCal. No, Dave was born with a CDL in his hand. I never did get a proper CDL. I was kind of what was grandfathered. I was grandfathered into the deal was what happened with me, but it was probably the easiest way to get one. It maybe wasn't the right way to get one at the time, but that's what they did, and that's what happened with me. But no, I was driving trucks when I was 16. Now they were, some of them were stake trucks and stuff like that, but it all counted. But I wasn't running cross country with them either. Patrick Aubry, I would never dare to drive a semi on the open road at that age. And Patrick, I agree with you, and I think that's common sense. And I don't even have trouble with secondary highways and stuff. But the interstate system and hauling 53-foot trailers around in big cities, doing deliveries like Chicago or something like that, I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy and undue unnecessary pressure for an 18-year-old. And you know how much they'll be paying them. Not nearly enough. Jimmy Cagney, I'm 53 and a rookie, just graduated at the end of January and was blessed enough to get picked up by Great Lakes Cold Logistics. They usually never hire rookies, but they're going to give me a chance. Jimmy, we've found that those are good people there. I think you'll enjoy working for them. Congratulations on your new position. Enjoy. Take care, be careful. I'm sure you'll be fine, but enjoy. I think you will. I think you're with a great carrier. Man, that's half the secret to survival these days, is to go with a good carrier, a great carrier like that. So good man. Congratulations, Jimmy.
Daniel Meredith Jr. coming in with the $5 as well. Are yard drivers allowed to flip placards? I don't even flip placards if YRC asked me on the computer. I told them I wouldn't do it without paperwork. Thank you very much for the $5, Daniel.
Daniel Meredith with a smoking good question. And you know what? I was a yard jockey very briefly, and we didn't handle any hazmat freight. And that was 100 years ago, back when there were no rules anyway. That's a really good question. I would think, my understanding is that the guy that loads the trailer is at a loading dock situation, is the guy that needs to placard the truck in a situation like that. Or, you know, if you're out somewhere outside the yard, you're at the shipper and he'll give you the proper placards. But no, I would say no, the guys that loaded the trailer with the hazmat are the guys that should be putting the placards on, not the yard driver moving it around. That's my take on that, Daniel, anyway. Good question, though. Smoking question. Zach Brown, do you feel that having a clean and well-maintained truck makes a complete difference as to having a dirty truck and being pulled into a scale for a level 1. Clean truck is a productive truck. I absolutely believe that, Zach. And man, especially if you're in a place like California, that was a religion for us. We'd get into California and we'd stop at Barstow and wash. We wouldn't go past Barstow without washing. So no, I completely believe that. And the scales judge you partially by appearance. If they see a clean, sharp-looking truck, they figure that there's a much better chance that that truck is being maintained because you've taken the care to at least keep it clean. So all day long, I think that's important. And I think it's important to the driver's mental attitude as well. Because if the truck looks nice, if everything's clean, he feels like a professional instead of like a dirty yard junkie or something like that. I don't know, but I think it lends to the professionalism of the job in the industry. I found that if you're under 21, that you're nearly untouchable for most insurance companies. It's insulting to be offered warehousing jobs with being told they can't insure me nor train me as a driver. I agree with you there, and it's the insurance industry has far too much power and pull in the trucking industry. In my humble opinion, I think drivers should be judged on their own merits rather than necessarily by their age, but they don't let me make the rules. But yeah, I don't agree with it. Dave, does the DOT man ever cut you guys a break? Meaning up here in Ontario? It's, of all the places I ran, like I ran from Ontario to California, and they used to say the California DOT was tough and mean, and I never had any trouble in California. I never had any trouble anywhere except in Ontario. And I found Ontario to be far more strict than any of the states that I traveled in. So they're not known for cutting you slack up here, no. Fred says, I started at 18 doing local containers around Toronto. No big deal rubbing a container. Everybody rubs stuff when they're new. I like that comment. Rub it, yeah, and it's not a big deal. Fred, we talked about this once before. Was that at Melbourne? I forget where, but I think we were talking about that before. I never did that Jersey container hauling thing. A lot of my friends started out that way, but I didn't. SoCal, Zach Brown, I haven't had a level 1 inspection in over 10 years. Yes, I keep my truck and wheels polished. There's your answer. So there's the secret to it. And I can tell you, I can testify from seeing some pictures of SoCal's truck that the paint on that truck looks so deep and it's so clean. It looks like you could sink your hand into the paint job. That thing looks so sharp and nice. So yeah, awesome looking truck. Jake Cobb got pulled over by the DOT for a level 1 inspection. Officer was a comic, but I was too nervous to laugh at his jokes. No, I hear you, Jake, on the being nervous because you're just afraid to say anything or do anything that might get him mad at you. So I get that. Looking back, I don't think I would have ever been mature enough to be driving semi-trucks at 18. Kelly Patterson. It's a valid point. Like how many people have the kind of maturity that it takes to be running a semi at 18 years old, and that is part of the issue because maturity plays in as a big factor to that age group. Captain Nice Guy. The professionalism extends to the driver too. If you're dressed in clean clothes and wearing good shoes, you'll be taken more seriously than someone wearing a tank top, pajama pants, and flip-flops. God, never truer words were spoken. I completely agree with that. Yep. Yeah, it's how you present yourself. It's so important. What are your thoughts on driver-facing cameras, among the other things they monitor? I'm not, for a city guy that's just in and out of the truck all day but no bunk, I guess that's all right. And I can understand why they want them, but in a highway truck, no, I don't agree with them at all because the bunk becomes your personal living space. And in fact, the whole truck, in effect, then becomes your personal living space because you're back and forth and up front and out back. So, no, I don't agree with driver-facing cameras in highway trucks. SoCal says real truck drivers don't wear flip-flops, Captain. I expect Captain Nice Guy knows that already, but never hurts to post a reminder to everyone else. I started driving a farm truck hauling to the elevator. All sorts of young people start that way, especially farm kids and rural kids start that way. I think that is one of the best ways to learn. And, some kids have that advantage, some kids don't. But I think that is one of the best ways to go. Ryan Voss.
It often makes them great drivers, too.
And yeah, it often produces excellent drivers. Some of those country boys, man. Keep all the crap off your dash, paperwork, food, etc., and keep the windshield clean, and keep the lines of sight open, too, along with having a clean truck. Ryan Voss, he's right about that. You don't want to have a bunch of crap piled on the dash, because the DOT can see that, too. And you get an ugly one, he'll even say that it's impeding your vision out the forward windshield there and give you a hell or a ticket or something like this. Mad control. I think most 18-year-olds would do better than some of the guys out here now. No problem with sending them to war, huh? But and who was that? It was Chris Spears. Chris Spears, who's the head of the ATA, was on an aircraft carrier, and there was a girl driving the ship, and his comment was, if you could send a kid to an 18-year-old to drive a battleship like that, you could certainly allow them to cross lines. But he missed the point completely, because the military are highly organized and highly supervised, and that is not the case with an 18-year-old truck driver out with some trainer of questionable and dubious skill. It is not the same thing at all.
Do you know what SMH means, Dave?
No.
Shake my head.
Oh, shake my head? Yeah.
There you go. There's your acronym for today.
Good one. Define trucking. Hurry up and wait and don't get paid for sitting. Caleb, that's one of the things we want to see change. And it's changing. It's coming about slowly. And, that's part of why, they'll take advantage of these new 18 to 20-year-old drivers. Tell them, no, you don't get paid waiting time. When the senior guys go, no, I want $25 an hour or whatever it is, because I'm not sitting for free. But the young guys, they'll suck them into that because they'll be too scared to lose their jobs. Another problem I have with it. Dan Williams says, Grandpa would not let me leave the farm to dump at the silo. He had good learning from an old Studebaker on the farm. Having crap on your dash is a first-class ticket to the inspection bay. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you believe it or not, you know what else got me sent to the inspection bay? Back in the day, even though my truck was clean, I had tinted windows at one point, tinted side windows, and that put me into the inspection bay in Mojave, California. And he told me that's why he pulled me in, and he made me peel that off before he let me leave that scale. So there's something else that'll get you pulled around back. Do you guys really think that 18-year-olds are interested in trucking at all?
That's a good point.
That's a really good point. I was, but not very many are. And that was true then, and that's still true now.
So maybe that's a good thing.
It'll be interesting to see how the recruiting goes for this new program of theirs, because I think fewer young kids are interested now than ever.
They'll recruit out of the schools, though.
But yeah, and they'll recruit directly out of the schools, and a lot of kids will think, well, there's an easy job to land right there. So, top of the hill on 15 going into Vegas, Shell Station and Nipton, California, walked in for a date shake and walked out with a bear, alligator, and beef jerky also. Roger Penske. Top of the hill on 15 going into Vegas, Shell Station, Nipton, California. Walked in for a date shake and walked out with a bear, alligator, and beef jerky. Way back in the day when I was a teenager, the old timers always taught me that dirty windows were a good way to get pulled into the DOT inspection. Yeah, Joe, dirty windows or tinted windows. But yeah, if you keep the truck looking clean, they're more likely to let you slide. That's always been my experience anyway. Oh, always take the radar detector off the dash at scales. Grilled Mortal. Good good advice from Grilled Mortal. Made that mistake a few times back in the day. Didn't do that. I'm waiting to hear back from a drywall company to drive a straight flatbed truck, but I have the feeling their insurance will deny me. Well, let's take the wait and see attitude, and you know what? If they do deny you, I can tell you firsthand that carrying drywall isn't all that much fun anyway. So you might not be missing a whole lot. Charlie Trask, whatever happened to vote, drive a bus, and into battle? Send into battle to drive a huge supply truck, tanks, helicopters, multi-million-dollar aircraft equipment. Why can't they drive a semi? Because, as I said, Charlie, the military trains those people, trains them really well to do that type of stuff. They've got mentors, they've got great training and great equipment. That's not going to be the case with an 18-year-old shoved in a Swift truck with a driver trainer that's in the bunk with 8 weeks experience. And that's what's going to happen. They've got all these rules. The mega carriers aren't going to follow any of that. They'll just do whatever they can get away with, just like they always do. Started off doing dry bulk, got into an accident my last week of training. Werner ran into the side of me and put me in the ditch, hit and run. Now I carry extra underwear. Werner ran into you and took off. Or forced you off the road, probably. Yeah, I guess, there's where a dash cam helps. Because if you get the guy on film shoving you out of the lane and down into the ditch, you can take that to the carrier and the insurance company. Shannon says, if I never see another sheet of drywall, Shannon, oh well, you and I could tell drywall stories, and I did that for a little while and friggin' hated it. Like I did after the first 100 sheets, the novelty wears off, doesn't it? I tell you. When I was in Minnesota, I got the truck washed at the Beacon. Next exit was the inspection. Got pulled in and waved on. David, that's generally what happens. Is the lettuce man still driving? Meaning the lettuce king still driving. And how did you and the lettuce king meet? The lettuce king right now is hauling oversized construction machinery, like great big dozers and stuff, just in and around Toronto for by the hour work. They pay him amazingly well. He pretty much works when he wants and doesn't work when he doesn't want, but he pretty much works all the time because that's the kind of guy he is. But he's doing very well, and he and I met at a shipper's. We were both working for the same carrier at one point, years and years and years ago, and we ran into each other at the same shipper and got to be friends. And that was a long time ago. The military will also instill a sense of responsibility and discipline that they are likely to get at Jim Bob's trucking school. Kelly Patterson just nailed it on the head. That's right. That's right. Instills a sense of responsibility. Well said, man. The shipper or dockman should give the driver the correct placards, but as usual, the driver is responsible ultimately. Yeah. Now, Roger, if the driver is just staying within the shunt yard, though, it's probably never going to matter. But really, should it be his call? That was a good question. I don't know. Yeah. But how about Billy Bob's trucking school? Kelly says SoCal. Oh man. Daniel Meredith, at YRC I have moved up 4 spots on seniority list and probably be moving up 2 to 3 more spots when some of the guys retire or move on or something like that. At a unionized place, I learned that seniority is particularly important. So glad to hear you're moving that direction. That's a good thing. And YRC is a good carrier to be with. I'd rather deal with drywall than to keep driving an excavator for $12.50 an hour. A Cheeseman, I wouldn't do anything for $12.50 an hour.
Great.
I-
McDonald's pays better.
McDonald's, yeah, you could be a greeter at Walmart for that kind of money. SoCal, tell the truth, Dave. Do you and the Lettuce King and then the police lineup? No, that was the second time we ran into each other. That's not how we met initially. Oh, God. I've been local for about a year now, and I'll never go back to over the road. I have a newborn, though, and home time is more valuable to me. I make a good wage and don't have to worry about layovers or scales. And all sorts of guys now are coming off the road to do exactly what you've done and for exactly the same reasons. And, you know, over the road life is okay for a young single guy, but it plays hell with a family and on a marriage. So, and you know what? When you work locally, you get paid by the hour 9 times out of 10. No free waiting time. There's all sorts of advantages to it. I was late in life figuring that one out. And appointment times don't work, especially at really huge docks. Trucking should be done drop and hook. Bobtail, and I have to tell you, unless you're pulling something special. And drop and hook is pretty nice, I understand. I've never done that, but I think that is, like for these big carriers, I think that's exactly how it should go then. Because some of these warehouses have just stupid waiting times. And the appointment time, you can miss the appointment time by 2 minutes. And they'll send you to the back to wait for another 8 hours. It's an inefficient, stupid way to go, and it's abusive on drivers. So, yeah, drop and hook, definitely, is much nicer. Been working 11 to 14-hour days at Schneider for the past 4 months. After some simple calculating, my pay has come out to just barely $15 an hour. Dedicated regional account. It's insane how little they pay. Time to move on, man. That is poor. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You could be making a fortune working those kind of hours by the hour. That's crap. Hot shotting in hotels at $24 an hour, or a big truck and sleeper at $26 an hour. This is from Cole. Same route, lots of experience in a big truck, but that was 25 years ago. Huh. Yeah, really. Do you want the hotel or do you want the bunk? What about the Teamsters? Is their union a good outfit? Just curious. Jimmy Cagney. You know, man, at one time, the Teamsters was the way to go. And then they lost a lot of power through government regulation. And they had issues too. But these days, a union job with the Teamsters is a valuable thing to have as a truck driver. If you land a union job, it's hard to do much better. I'll tell you. You know, there are some private fleets that do just as well as the unionized guys, but the unionized guys these days do really well. So they have serious protection. So it's good to be a Teamster in this day and age. Sleep in the truck 5 days a week, home for 2. I'm leaving the company and going into the food service, starting at $30 an hour. Yeah, buddy, there's much better money and much better home time. It's hard work, but I bet you'll be glad you made the change.
Drink it and then put it out on the
My grandfather was back in with the Teamsters back in the 70s, and they wanted to protest. He chose to keep working to make money. They set his house on fire. But yeah, there were, like I say, back in the day, you could get into some nasty trouble with Teamsters because they were a violent crew, or they could be, depending on the union, which shop it was, or which local it was. There's the correct term. But yeah, the Teamsters had an ugly reputation back in the 60s and the 70s. Happily, all that's past them now.
Captain Nice Guy coming in with the 20 bomb. It's in the name. I've noticed that companies, even the mega carriers, are starting to move away from split seating. I think that that's a good thing, but what are your thoughts on split seat jobs? Thank you very much for the...
Slip seat.
Oh, the slip seat seating. Yeah, sorry. A little dyslexic today. Thank you very much for the 20, Captain Nice Guy.
Good question, Captain Nice Guy. Thanks for the donation. I was never a big guy on slip seating. I know that it made life easier on a lot of drivers, but I preferred to always run my own truck all the time, and that way I knew, what kind of mechanical shape it was in, what it needed. I was able to keep it clean rather than slip seating into a truck that some guy had used as a garbage can, the guy before me. So there are advantages to slip seating, I know, but I was always of the mind that I preferred not to do that. I preferred to drive the same truck all the time and not share it with anybody. It's it's your tolerance level, I guess.
If you change the settings.
Do you want to define slip seating for
Yes.
those who don't know already?
Slip seating is when one guy rolls into a yard, hops out of the truck, and the next driver hops into the same truck and just keeps going in that same truck. So the same truck would share 2 or 3 drivers, and those guys would be responsible for cleaning up each other's messes in the truck and keeping, the truck clean and reputable. If the other guy didn't do it, for instance, and different guys have different standards of cleanliness and stuff. So,
And they change your seat settings.
they changed the radio settings, the seat settings, they got a monkey with everything that drove me nuts. Thanks for acknowledging my messages. Love this channel. Helped me a lot with CDL school in the summertime. Got my Class A manual in August. Congratulations. So glad you're enjoying the channel. I'm glad you're watching. Thank you.
I imagine split seating would just have a hole in the center of the chair then for you. Daniel Meredith Jr. coming in with the 5. If you're looking to get your CDL, check out YRC in Hagerstown. MD is
Maryland.
Maryland. The class is free and they pay you to take the class. Thank you very much for the 5, Daniel.
Wow. Thanks, Daniel. That's amazing. The class is free and they pay you to take it. That's that's a tough opportunity to beat. That's damn good. Appreciate the info, Daniel. Nothing like slip seating in a pig pen. That's from Grilled Mortal. Yeah, no, that's just when you open the door of the cab and you walk back because you want to go get the pressure hose, the truck is bad. And I had to do that for a little while at the union outfit that I worked for, actually, and I didn't care for it. I got in with a buddy of mine. I get paid percentage. This is from Jake Cobb, but I chose the loads, and I know exactly what the loads pay before I take them, as you should. I wouldn't work percentage if you don't know what the load pays. Jake, good point, and it's amazing to me how many guys work percentage. Put the load on, go with it, and then find out a day later from dispatch after they've calculated the percentage what the load pays. It's amazing how many percentage carriers work that way. I think that's crazy. And I've known all sorts of guys that got the load on, get 500 miles into the trip, and then find out, it's paying like $1.10 a mile and blowing nut, and rightfully so. I can't believe carriers operate that way. Some of the biggest flatbed outfits around are like that. They can't tell you what the load's going to pay until you've got it all together and got it on and you're halfway down the road. That's nuts. Oh, SoCal says, or if they smoke, we're talking about slip seating, yeah. Or if they smoke. And the guys that smoke, that stuff gets on the windshield, in the upholstery, it's everywhere. It permeates the truck. And if you've got to sleep in that truck, it permeates the bunk, the mattress. It's not nice. It's not nice. When hauling reefer, do you go to the temps on the bills, or do you go by the temps dispatch tell you and do what they do to control the temp by satellite? This is, I always went by the temperature on the bills, but I always carried like a food guide chart at the same time that recommended temperatures for all the different things to travel at. For instance, a lot of things they would like the set point at 33 degrees, but that is too close to the freezing mark at 32 for me. And the reefer swings up and down as it fluxes and searches for ideal temperature. That's how they operate. So if you've got it set at 33, at certain points, the temperature in the box is going to be below freezing. So at something like that, I generally tended to set the temperature a little bit higher, a couple of degrees higher, to keep the frost off the lettuce or whatever I was doing, because you don't want to freeze the stuff because you'll get a claim on it. So go by the temperature on the paperwork, and if you have a concern, call your carrier and say, they've got me running at 32 degrees. This is a leaf product. I don't think this is smart. I don't think this is safe. I'm going to bump it to 34 degrees and protect us from a frost on the load. That's how I would play that. But yeah, pretty important. Good question. Really good question.
Would you not become responsible for the damage of the load?
Sure. You're damn right you're responsible. If
you change the temperature on it, you end up screwing it up, though, then do you not become responsible?
Well, if you're protecting it from freezing, you can't screw it up, and that's what you're doing in that instance.
That's if you know you're protecting it from freezing.
Well, when you see 32 degrees, which is the freezing point, you know that's what you're doing. Captain Nice Guy, I don't care much for slip seating myself. I'm with you. I keep my vehicles, even my personal four-wheeler, a certain way and clean. So do I. Hated trucks that were messy or had the settings messed up. Yeah, me too. I was thinking of this guy I used to work with, and we used to, every time he was done shifting, he was a picky bugger. Every time he was done the shift, we'd get in and change all the radio settings on the AM, FM. Drove him insane. That's why we did it, to drive him insane.
Dave even gets upset when I adjust my seat in the Tahoe. He thinks I should drive with the setting that's the same as his seat setting. So he huffs and puffs and rolls his eyes when he gets into it, and I've moved it up closer to the steering wheel, so can't imagine what it would be like in a truck.
For those of us who don't like to be fully reclined while driving. Z, thank you very much for the $20. We addressed this earlier that we weren't going to be doing any convoy talk today. It's just not something we want to get into today for a number of reasons, as stated earlier. Thank you very much for the 20. We really do appreciate that. If you want to put another question in the chat, we'd be more than happy to answer that, but we're just going to steer clear of that for today's live stream. For now, anyways.
Yes, thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. David Alfson says, slip seating does have its advantages. I come in the morning, the engine's warm from the night driver, and the heater's already on. So yes, there are advantages to it. Zach Brown, what do you mean by Teamsters? I've never heard of them. Teamsters are the most powerful union in the trucking industry.
Not just in trucking.
And they're not just involved in trucking, but primarily they got their start in trucking, and primarily when you talk about a trucking union, you're talking about Teamsters. Oh, grilled mortal. It might be me, grilled mortal. I tend to get yakking and pull away from the mic. It's probably my fault. Sorry about that. SoCal says you're deaf, grilled. She's busted you pretty good. Shannon's laughing about your comment about the car seat. She wasn't. It wasn't exactly accurate. I get mad when she doesn't put the seat back where she found it.
You never put mine back.
Well, that's because you don't have any trouble getting in. When she moves the seat up and I go to get into my car, I damn near take my head off trying to get in front of the steering wheel.
So go ahead.
Are the buttons not on the side of the seat, though,
They
so
are.
you can reach it from the outside of the vehicle instead of trying to...
He just gets annoyed because I don't put it back.
Yeah, exactly.
So and then I get in my car today, and he takes all my stuff in my car out of the passenger seat and throws it in the back of the hatchback.
That was because
And my seat was adjusted, and you didn't put my seat back where it belonged. I had to pull over and
you were
fix.
sitting in the
I
passenger
had
seat.
to pull over and fix my seat. when I drove, when I went out later today.
See, part of your circle check, you should have got all that adjusted before
No,
you took off.
the slip seating driver before me should have put stuff back where it belonged.
Shannon, I might have to come and live with you in Wyoming. I'm in trouble here again.
I'll help you pack.
She,
Treading on
she
very
says she'll
thin
help me
ice right
pack. Oh, man. Where am I?
I got a pin here.
Yeah, Ryan Voss, who needs the med cart now, grilled. I don't know about grilled, I could use it. Bring it on. Roll it in.
You can read that.
It's a pretty scary deal that you guys are afraid of getting shut down. Where has all the freedom gone if we can't even have a free conversation?
That's what we're wondering.
Well, Cole, that's exactly what we're wondering too. That has become the question up here in Canada.
But once we have the green light that we know we're allowed to
Maybe.
talk about it, we'll
We'll do what we
definitely
can.
be covering it. But until then, we just want it set in stone.
Jim S. says, so I see the seat issues with all married couples because Grilled Moral says he can't get into his woman's car till he moves the seat. So it's kind of a universal thing with car seats and girls, I guess. They're all shorter than we are, I guess. Got the nice guy. I feel for you, Dave. When getting in the car that my wife's been driving previously, if I forget to move the seat back, I wind up with my knees in my ears. Exactly. That's exactly what happens to me. Or I whack my knees trying to get into the damn car. Oh, well.
You keep going. She's gonna have your.
I
she's
know.
gonna have her
I
foot
better,
up your
I
backside.
better stop now while I'm ahead. Shannon says I'm welcome to come up move with him. Thank you. I might be out as soon as the snow's done. What else we got?
Come on. David Ellison says your wife has a hot temper. No, she just has a low tolerance for silliness.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
And doesn't like repeating herself
And doesn't-
over
yeah,
and
does-
over
Yeah.
and over
Yep.
and over again.
Oh man.
Thin ice.
Oh man, I'm not even talking about that. Joe talk. We don't share bathrooms, so we don't have that issue, Joe.
Everybody's got their own.
But everyone's got their own washroom here.
Thank
so.
the Lord above
Thank
for
God.
that.
Yeah.
Thank God. Nick's a pig.
Oh.
Jono says, sitting at the hospital now after the truck fire earlier, waiting to get checked out after all the smoke I managed to inhale. Man, Jono, that's not good.
Did you read his comment earlier about what happened to him?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there was something about a truck fire.
Well, let me scroll up and see if I can find it here. It was a ways back, but
Yeah.
I believe he was driving on the interstate today, and he smelled smoke coming from, I think it was his bunk or under his trailer. It's really far back here. I can't find it, but he pulled over to find, I think it was the engine on fire, if I
Maybe he
recall
could
reading
drive
that
back and then check.
correctly. Jono, I read the comment earlier, but if you want to reiterate for Dave and Kathy exactly what happened, but basically I believe he just smelled smoke, pulled over, and found his engine was on fire. Yeah, under the cab was on fire,
So
as he says.
what happened there, Jono? Give me the update on that. I missed that. It must have been right at the start here.
He pulled over to a service station, and thankfully they had a fire extinguisher there for him. But
Wow. How bad off's the truck? Oh man. How bad off are you? Jesus. You don't want to have that happen too often. The lettuce king had a peat catch on fire with him one time, and it was a new peat too, and it was some sort of electrical issue out of a brand new peat, and it burned right at an intersection in Markham, I think he was in. But yeah, no fun at all. My dad is harassing me to lease a truck from Swift. How do I politely convince him that it would be a terrible idea? Does it have to be politely? I think I would just tell him politely that you'd rather be a company driver than lease the truck. You'd just feel more secure driving as a company driver. Maybe that's the politically correct way out of that.
Pin at the top.
Jake Cobb, what are your thoughts of the carrier that got shut down in Texas DOT violations? Can't remember the carrier's name. That was like a Onetruck operation though, Jake. But it must have been, and they had pictures of the truck, and it wasn't like a truck that any rookie would drive. It was a big double bunk, high bunk Kenworth. And my guess was it was some old timer that just had always thrown away the rules, didn't run logbooks. There were a lot of guys like that out there back in the day, especially. And my guess is they finally just caught up to this old guy, and he'd broken so many rules, didn't keep any safety policies or anything, any of that paperwork around that you need to do these days. And I imagine he got a mean inspector that just shook his head and just threw the book at him. That's my guess anyway. I don't know that for a fact, but I do know if we're talking about the same incident, it was a Onetruck operation. So, or it was just a complete bandit, one of the two.
You see what Jono added on there?
I saw that
Insulation
he
from
found
under
a
the
part-
cab. No, insulation from under the cab landed on top of the EGR cooler.
Oh, an EGR fire. Those are getting more and more common, and that is one of the problems with this stupid emission system that they have. They've had brush fires in the Northwest that they've traced back to these things. They've had fuel truck fires that they've traced back to these emissions emissions equipment, I should say. And you know, it's crazy when you think about it, because those things get over 1,000 degrees a lot of the time, a lot hotter sometimes, I think. But like, who designed that?
All right, chat. Well, it's about that time of day where we start wrapping things up and bring out his med cart shortly here. So, in lieu of that, I believe Dave has a couple announcements prior.
I do. Before I do that, I want to say, Murray says, I have a buddy that lives in Vancouver. He works in the movie and TV show business. The Teamsters have a lot to do with that industry. Also, he works security on site, and that's a Teamster job. Yeah. Yep, and those are good jobs to have these days. Good jobs to have. So, if we're getting to the wrap it up stage, and I see by the time that we are, let me tell you that this Friday's video, something I hope you're going to watch and that you're looking forward to, is titled. You wouldn't get a CDL if I was your driver trainer unless, and then I've listed, unless you master these 5 things. So I've got 5 things that I think are important to being a good driver if you're a new truck driver. And guys write me a lot saying, did you ever think about starting a driver training school? And the answer is always no, but for those guys that think that I should, here are a few things that I think are important that new guys learn and master. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that. It's a good video. We've been working on getting our podcasts up and running here, and we should be rolling those out shortly. I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm been enjoying working on them, and I think they'll be really good. I think you'll enjoy them too. I think that you'll find them as entertaining as I do. So I'm looking forward to getting that up and running. We should see that here in the next few weeks.
Because he gets to do long form videos. We restrict the videos usually to under 10 minutes, but he gets excess airtime when he does these podcasts, so some of them are going to be pretty long. So
oh yeah, I just get to sit there and shoot my mouth off, and I'm good at that. So there was some good stuff in the stream. So thank you guys for all participating. The conversation's always lively and always really good. Jono and the truck fire, probably the most notable thing that came out of this stream. That's pretty serious stuff. I'm glad you're okay, man. So I guess that'll be it for the week. Take care.
Before we depart here, Captain Nice Guy wants to know, how often do you think we'll be releasing these podcasts? If anyone has a answer to throw in the ball pit.
Got it.
Every 2 weeks now.
Kathy.
Probably every 2 weeks, Captain Nice Guy. That's the indication that I'm getting here. It really depends on when we start recording these in bulk of how many we end up having in total. So if we have a lot, we'll probably upload more frequently, but if we only get a couple good ones, then might be every like 2 weeks or so to maybe once a month, but that's to start off. But look forward to those.
Anyway, that's it for today, boys and girls. Thank you all for joining us. I've had a great time. I hope you have too. Take care. Keep the rubber side down.
This is my little
And
plug.
You should hit him with it for the car
and
comment
we'll
earlier.
see you on the back haul. Here's what we think. Take care. Good night, everybody.